Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the plate up here and show you what we got going on the inside. Just slowly remove these screws because, like I said, it's going into plastic, and if you improperly put them in here and tighten it or whatever, it's just going to weaken that plastic in there, and you don't want to do that. Okay, zoom in here and let you guys see what we got going on. Okay, first thing I want to start off by is the vibration sensor, which is right here, this little blue guy right here. Mine actually came set perfect. I never had to mess with it at all. Tried it out, aired up the marker, ran it on semi-auto, no electronics, ran fine. You know, every shot kept up, didn't have a problem. So basically, if you do have to adjust it there, I'm going to go ahead and read this from the instructions verbatim so I don't screw up or tell you guys the wrong thing, because I've ran mags for a little while, but I'm still generally new to the whole concept of what they got going on here. Vibration sensor says some of the versions of the warp feed come with either an internal or externally mounted vibration sensor. Of course, this sensor allows you to use this on a variety of non-electronic markers, or use the warp on non-electronic markers, and it senses the vibration, like I said earlier, senses the vibration of the gun when it shoots. It helps a lot with blowback markers, but any marker that really has a little kick to it when it shoots is what it's gonna, you know, how it's gonna turn. Now, the sensor itself, to adjust it up, you want to turn it clockwise. And when you turn it clockwise, if you get it to the highest setting, it's going to start spinning. And then you want to back it off just a little bit. When it stops spinning, if you can, if you can tap the side of the marker or the side of the warp, just like that, and it'll spin. Turn it just slightly lower, so when you're running and stuff, every vibration is not going to try to spin the warp. Just turn it a little bit lower than that and you should be good to go. That's really it with the vibration sensor. Now we have also these jumpers that are right here, 1, 2, and 3. Now these jumpers are marked negative, I believe. Let's see negative is the top, positive, and then sense. Now, having the bottom one on at all times means that your vibration sensor is going to run at all times. So if you have an eMag that has the capability of going to mechanical and electronic on the fly, you want to leave that sensor on there. Now, I also have the positive jumper on, which means it is getting information from the inside of the board in the gun, hence why this wire is here, and it's going into the input jack. It's telling it that it's going to fire on every trigger pull while it's in electronic mode. Now, I believe the negative is what is used for the IntelliSwitch. Say if you're running it on attack 1 and you want it to go on every trigger pull, you want to put it on the negative jumper up here. So you would have negative on, positive off, sense on. Okay. Now, this little guy right here is the button that you're going to push to manually feed the balls in for the first time. So when you put the balls in the hopper, it's going to feed down into the breech initially. You're going to push this, it's going to manually spin the warp and get those balls pushed up into the tube, and then of course it'll stop once everything's in place, and you won't have to push that until either you run out of paint in here, and usually the warp will stop when there's one ball up here. It won't, of course, because you're not going to be pushing any more up the tube if there's no more paint. I mean, there'll still be paint in the tube, but there's not going to be anything to push that paint through the tube into the breech. So you might have to push that one, once after you reload your hopper and get going there. Now, these jumpers right here are for dwell time. The dwell of the warp telling it how fast to spin the or when to spin and how fast to spin the plates on the inside. Now I'm going to read this from the instructions as well. Give me just a second. It says the second set of jumpers control the length of time that the feed wheel spins after it gets a signal from the gun. The more jumpers you install, the shorter the time the wheel will spin. It does matter which ones you install first because they all shorten timing in an equal amount. You should set the timing so that at your maximum firing rate the wheel spins continuously. Setting this to the minimum timing will get you reliable feeding and maximize your battery life. Now, of course, all four of mine are installed and it fires just fine. I'm not going to touch it because last time I messed with it on my TAC 1 I screwed some stuff up, and like I said, I'm still new to the whole warp feed, what it does in there and everything, so I didn't want to mess with it. It works fine, it's good enough for me. So that's basically the inside. Now you're going to want to every now and then grease up this this line here, the friction discs and all that, get it to where it moves smoothly, because after a while, one or two games, you just want to make sure it's moving properly in there, and you don't want the rubber band here to dry rot or anything. That'd cause you a world of problems. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back on here. I'm not going to actually open the warp feed up, but I'm going to try to explain to you guys best what's going on in there. I mean, it's pretty much operated on the two friction discs on the inside, and those discs, like I said, grab the paint and pull it up into the marker. Really simple design that, like I said, takes the hopper off the top of your gun, eliminates hopper hits altogether, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, a lot of people are saying, hey, you have a nasty looking adapter at the top that could still get hit and it's preventing you from line of sight. Well, that's true. Do I like it? No. I'm going to be getting what AGD sells is a ULE warp body. Now, what the warp body does, just a second here. Now, what the warp body does is it's going to take this up here and move it down here to the side. So this whole setup, the power, or the warp adapter, all this, and this feed neck are all going to be located right here. So of course that's going to give you perfect line of sight down your gun, and either you're tucking out the left or right hand side of your bunker, you're going to have perfect line of sight right down your gun. I mean, I've ran the warp left setup, and when I have my TAC 1, perfect. I mean, you can just pop out of either side of bunker, no problem at all. I mean, you're looking right down the barrel, so you see right where those paintballs go, you know where they're going, and you don't even really have to tuck out that much. I mean, it's designed to give you, maximum hiding while you're in a bunker, and maximize your hiding, maximize your ability to shoot around both sides without tucking, without exposing too much of your body when you go around a bunker, too much of your mask, anything. I mean, it's very, very minimal. Trust me. I mean, I love this setup. This setup is where it's at. Now, I know it's old, and not many people want to fool with it now, because you got your die rotor, your prophecy, you have super fast loading hoppers out there. But the remedy for that, if you want to run the warp feed with one of those fast hoppers, is I believe Luke's Customs does a mod on this that increases the battery power, I think to 12 volt, and it should be able to keep up with any hopper, on the market. I'm not going to get that done just because I don't shoot all that fast and I try to conserve as much paint as I can. But at the same time, if you want that done, Loose Customs can do it for you. But back to the warp left. Now they make AGD makes a warp left tack body like this one, but it's slightly more expensive.